Go Engineer Studios proudly presents SOLIDWORKS 2021 Superpowers, starring Stephen, Charn, and Tim. In this presentation, we'll be going through what's new in SOLIDWORKS 2021, and we'll start with Charn going through performance.
Thanks, Tim. Every year it seems like SOLIDWORKS is always improving the performance to make you more productive with your designs. And this year, SOLIDWORKS has continued to increase their focus on performance, reliability, and optimizing pre-existing workflows to work exactly as you've always intended them to. In SOLIDWORKS 2020, we introduced detailing mode, which allowed you to quickly open large drawings. In SOLIDWORKS 2021, you can speed up your drawing creation with an improved detailing mode with even more editing abilities. With drawings, you can also see improved performance when selecting, panning, and fast zoom to make your everyday work faster. We've also improved occlusion culling and silhouette edges by using more of your GPU for faster frame. And in assemblies, we'll see faster file operations, configuration switching, and automatic lightweight mode resolving to help the most complex assemblies. We'll be seeing all these improvements as we look into the what's new features throughout these webinars. Let's pass it over to Stephen, who's going to start us off with showing SOLIDWORKS in action.
So let's take a look at some of the SOLIDWORKS fundamentals. Some of the changes to the system options and document properties include the defaults, color selections, translated feature names, and file locations. Some of them are pretty subtle though, so let's take a deeper dive. One of my favorite features in past SOLIDWORKS is the ability to search for commands. In the past, it had always defaulted to the SOLIDWORKS help and I always had to change it. But in 2021, it's the default now. So if I need to find a command and customize my toolbars, makes it a little bit easier to do that. The help is moved from a menu to an icon. In the help menu now, the help actually opens up in your default browser instead of Internet Explorer. I'm glad they did that one. And in the past, when you created a new sketch or edited an existing sketch, sometimes the view didn't always go normal to the sketch plane. Well, that now is a default. Let's take a look at where some of those are at. If I go into the options, we'll go ahead and start with underneath the sketch. You'll see up at the top there's an auto rotate view normal for sketch plane on creation and edit. That's now a default. Right above the sketch is some of the options for colors. We have some new selected items, and you'll also notice the new interface where we actually can see the color of each of those. That's going to make it a little bit easier, so if you know what the color is out there, you can actually kind of find it and now know what it's actually called. And speaking of colors, if you wanted to standardize your company on specific colors or any of the system options, you can do that by using an admin image. If you go into the admin options editor, we can go in and change using the launch settings administrator. And in this case, I'm just going to use the default set of options. And what it allows you to do is to change any of these settings. And now I have the options to say not only set the colors, but also to lock the ones that I want to make sure that some of the users don't change. All right, let's get back to our regular SOLIDWORKS options. And this is actually a pretty fun one. If we go to the feature manager, we have the option to show translated feature names. And we have 14 different languages that we can pick from. In this case, I'll pick Chinese traditional. When I select OK, you'll notice in the feature tree that I have not only English, which was my installed language, but also whatever the secondary language is. So that one's pretty cool. Last but not least, let's take a look at some of the file location options. At the very bottom, you'll see some inspection options. So we can now standardize where the locations of the projects, the reports, and the export folders are. Another standardized option we have is for the hatch pattern file. Inside this folder, SOLIDWORKS is going to look for a specific PTN file. For any of you guys that have standardized AutoCAD pattern files, this is going to be very similar. So just to have a little bit of fun, the cool thing is we can add any of our hatch patterns. We can standardize them because they're now on the network. And we can also customize them. In this case, I pulled an AutoCAD hardware PAT file and just copied and pasted it in. Pretty simple. We covered some good features to help you standardize SOLIDWORKS. Let's move on to some model display enhancements. 3MF is an additive manufacturing format for 3D printing, and now SOLIDWORKS imports and exports colors, textures, and transparencies. For the other two options, color pick from external sources and semi-transparent text for dimensions, let's take a look at a quick demo. Here I've got a Rubik's Cube, and it's got all the colors on it, but I want to validate and make sure that the colors are the correct color. So what I've done is gone out to the internet and downloaded a PNG with all the proper colors. In order to make the colors correct, let's go ahead and open up the little part file. I'm going to just select on the face and go to the appearances for that face. And now in the appearances dialog box, we have an option which is a little color picker. And if I drag it, you can see I can get any color that I want. So there's white, there's red, there's green, there's yellow. And when I drop it, it's going to add that color to the color palette. In this case, I want bright white. So I drop it. And notice that I've got bright white. It looks good. We'll save the changes. And now they've propagated to this. The last fundamental enhancement that I'm going to cover is in the sketch mode. I'm going to go ahead and create a quick little rectangle. And the subtle enhancement will come in when I try to put on a smart dimension. So as I start to place it, you'll notice that the dimension text is only 1 pixel width thick. What that allows me to do is to quickly see back behind it and to pick on points that may be harder to pick on from before. So it's a very small but nice feature that kind of helps you pick through the text and help you get the geometry that you need. So moving on to something that's a little bit harder to demo is the performance in the model display. We have occlusion cooling, dynamic performance, non-render pipelines, all of these fancy words. For the most part, what they mean is that it's fast. Large assemblies and parts with hidden lines removed, shaded modes with edges, all of that is faster. Drawings, performance improved with panning and zooming, large assemblies, switching configurations. It is super fast.
Thanks, Steve. Now let's take a look at some of the changes that will help us with creating and editing parts. The first thing we'll look at is to make sure we have an option to use accelerated zoom. To do this, we'll have to make sure we have the display scroll bars in graphics view for parts and assemblies turned off. In order to change this setting, you'll need to have all documents closed but SOLIDWORKS open. Since we're in the options, we'll go ahead and change the default sketch color. This will make it a lot easier to see the sketches against the default color of the part. To do this, we've always had the option, but now we have this nice stacked list, which makes it a lot easier to see exactly what's going on. We'll simply slide through the list and find Sketch Inactive and set that to what we want to see. And since Steve liked green, we'll go ahead and set ours to a lovely shade of green as well. This change should make our sketches much easier to see because they'll stand out a lot better. Another thing to note is that when we have our background set to light or dark, that change will also be reflected in the Home or Welcome dialog box. We'll go ahead and accept these changes. Yeah, that's much easier to see that sketch now with that green against that gray part. And let's also take a look at the accelerated zoom. So I'm going to just zoom a little bit using the standard technique of scrolling. And now let's use the accelerated zoom. Wow, that's quick. It's so quick, it's even hard to control. And we'll just zoom to fit again. We all know it's a balance of having the right tools available and having too much clutter on your screen. With SOLIDWORKS 2021, you'll be able to easily make sure you have everything you need with ease. The first thing we'll look at is the ability to collapse the command manager. This lets you have your part as big as possible on your screen, making it much easier to see detail. If you ever want the Command Manager back, simply click on one of the tabs and repin the Command Manager to keep it open. If we do collapse the Command Manager, we're still going to need to access some of these tools. I'm sure some of you guys have started using the mouse gestures, which I'm a personal fan of, but there's another thing that will also help: the S key keyboard shortcut. However, this doesn't have all the tools that we're going to be looking for. We're going to need to make a cut and then a circular pattern. So we'll quickly edit this to get what we need. Let's go to Customize, and then we'll simply go over to our shortcut bar and make sure we're in the proper mode here. So we want to make sure that we're in part mode for this one, and we're active. Now I just need to find, and this has been a daunting thing, is to find the commands you wanted, but new to SOLIDWORKS 2021 is the ability to search. Okay, so now all I need to do is grab the button that I want, and I'm going to use circular pattern and drop that on the shortcut toolbar. Okay, another thing we can also do is move the quick access tools such as Home, New, all that to the Command Manager, which will then put them in the top left of your Command Manager. So if you want to do that, that's another option that's available to you now in SOLIDWORKS 2021. We'll go ahead and say OK. Now let's go ahead and finish this part out by using the green sketch to make a cut and then a quick circular pattern. We'll select the sketch, S shortcut, make our cut, choose a through all, and then again, go right back to our shortcut bar, find our circular pattern, and then just pattern around the center, set our number to 4, and accept. Another thing that's been improved is the undo and subsequent ability to redo. In the past, if you've undone a feature, you've realized that you've made a mistake and now you've got to recreate that. That is no longer a thing. SOLIDWORKS 2021 now allows for the redo of features. This should be a real time saver. Now let's take a look at some changes as far as custom properties go. Custom properties store a lot of properties that are used for things such as bill of materials and finding information in PDM. Now in 2021, equations are supported in the custom properties. We'll set up a new property, and for this one, we'll choose a total cost estimate and set our type to equation. And for this, we'll use another custom property here, a global variable called estimated finished cost, and then we'll do a times our mass. You can see the estimated value is 429.88. You can see how SOLIDWORKS 2021 is going to enhance your ability to create parts efficiently. Hopefully you guys are ready to see some really cool stuff in assemblies.
Wow, Tim, that's amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm always forgetting what category each command is under when trying to customize my user interface. Now let's take a look at some assembly enhancements. As you spend time creating and working within your assembly designs in SOLIDWORKS 2021, you'll find more streamlined tools to help assemble, pattern, and analyze your assembly. Now, while mating in SOLIDWORKS 2021, you will find a new streamlined property manager. Instead of expanding sections for each group type, there are now tabs for each group, making it easier for you to find which type of mate you want to apply. Looking at the previously created mate, switching alignment presents the question as to how to handle the other components and mates impacted by this change. Choosing no oftentimes means overdefining other mates to solve the new alignment, which creates more work to fix. Choosing yes would have avoided this issue by instead flipping the other affected mates, making the task a simple fix. In SOLIDWORKS 2021, there is a new system option under Assemblies to choose how to always select one of these choices or retain the prompt. Choosing Always will by default flip the alignment of the other mates affected in the scenario. This saves time and confusion and ensures you always get the results you desire. When creating mates to slots in SOLIDWORKS 2021, you can now choose the default type of position. In this example, center of slot has been selected as a default choice. Likewise, there is now the option to lock rotation of slot mates similar to concentric mates. The default slot mate location is a new document setting found under Mates. Here you can choose what the default option is for slot mates. Make sure to save a new assembly template to retain these settings. SOLIDWORKS has always offered the flexibility to change the configuration for each component instance within a pattern. However, sometimes you may just want all of the components to reference the original instance, but this can be time-consuming to do one at a time. New in SOLIDWORKS 2021 is a new option to synchronize the configuration for all component instances created by the pattern. This new option also helps from inadvertently changing the configuration of any of these components from the quick menu dropdown and by locking the option from the component properties dialog. This ensures that as you make any configuration changes to the seed component of the pattern, these changes will be properly propagated. Interference detection is a powerful tool to quickly find issues within your design by helping you visually see any interferences between components before you physically create a part. SOLIDWORKS 2021 now offers the option to save the interferences out in a spreadsheet. You even have the choice to capture a screenshot for each interference so they can be shared and reviewed with others inside of your organization. This offers a new collaborative way to review interferences in a design and determine if they are intentional due to fit conditions, or to collaborate with others what changes should be made to solve the interferences. Now, working with a small assembly is fine, but what about when you have thousands of parts in an assembly? In today's fast-paced society, you demand the best performing tools so you can work as efficiently as possible. SOLIDWORKS 2021 delivers multiple new enhancements to access your data faster and work more efficiently. Open times for both resolved and lightweight assemblies have been improved in SOLIDWORKS 2021. This 2,259 component assembly opens in around 25 seconds, making getting into your design faster than ever. The larger the assembly, the greater gains you'll see when opening them in lightweight mode. To improve working with lightweight components, there is now a more streamlined approach to accessing their data and feature information. Simply expanding a component from the Feature Manager tree will now dynamically load those components on demand, giving you access to the fully resolved subassembly or part. This prevents unnecessary loading of large assemblies, but allows you to quickly access and resolve the components you're working on as needed. Working with configurations on SOLIDWORKS 2021 is now also faster. Switching between and creating new configurations are now significantly faster for assemblies. The performance evaluation tool within SOLIDWORKS has always been an invaluable resource to give you insight in areas of your design that may cause performance degradation. New for SOLIDWORKS 2021 is the analysis and reporting of circular references within an assembly. In this case, two holes on two separate components have been found to reference one another. You can use this information to further investigate the design and determine how they are referencing one another to fix these issues. In this scenario, one of the components listed in the report contains a hole wizard feature, where its location sketch has center points that are referencing the edges of the hole in the adjacent part to locate them concentrically. This is a common top-down design practice to ensure that the holes are always remained aligned to one another. However, investigation of the second component's feature, also a hole wizard, it appears that the center points within that sketch are likewise referencing the edges of the previously interrogated holes. This creates a circumstance where both features are trying to define the location of each other or a circular reference. To fix this scenario, the best course of action would be to remove the external references and redefine the location of the hole centers in one of the sketches, in this case dimensionally to the part they reside on. Once the changes have been made, a quick rebuild removes any warnings from the assembly. Finally, you can use Silhouette Defeature, introduced in SOLIDWORKS 2019, on an assembly to create a simplified representation of it or to protect proprietary information. Silhouette Defeature provides an intuitive step-by-step workflow to define the simplified version using a variety of geometry simplification tools. While you are selecting the components, bodies, or subassemblies you want to simplify, you will always have a side-by-side view to show what your finished representation will look like. This ensures that you can capture the correct amount of detail. The methods you can use to simplify your geometry range from something as simple as a bounding box or cylindrical representation of the components, or something a little more complex like the polygon or tight fit methods, which add a little bit more detail to the final results. Perhaps some of the components on your subassembly are critical to show the top level design, even within a simplified representation. For those instances, you can choose the copy geometry method to capture all of the detail of those components, bodies, or subassemblies. What's new for Silhouette D feature in SOLIDWORKS 2021 is the ability to save the simplified representation as a configuration within the assembly for which it was created. This eliminates the need to manage a separate file that contains the simplified model. You may still want to use those other methods when using Silhouette D feature to remove proprietary information from a design to share outside of your organization as a separate disconnected file. However, when using the D-featured models within a higher level assembly, you can simply choose a new configuration from the configuration drop-down menu. D-featured assemblies as configurations provide a way to both simplify complex assemblies visually and also add a performance boost in cases where all of the details of the individual components aren't necessary. With these new performance-oriented features in SOLIDWORKS 2021, you will be able to work faster and more efficiently with large and more complex designs.
Thanks, Charn. That's some pretty awesome stuff in assemblies. Now let's get to some drawings. One of the main improvements is, of course, drawing performance. There's faster zoom and pan, selecting moving annotations, and even multiple CPU background processes when you're doing hidden line removal. In the detailing mode, we can also edit existing dimensions annotations, break, crop, and use detail views and whole callouts, and a couple other little bonuses. So let's get to the demo. So I thought one of the best ways to show drawing performance is to do a side-by-side comparison. So I've got SOLIDWORKS 2020 on the left, SOLIDWORKS 2021 on the right, and I've gone ahead and opened up this drawing, exact same drawing, just saved in the newer version on the right. So you'll notice on the left, if I start to zoom in, and I'm actually trying to zoom in pretty quick, I get a huge lag. Also when panning, you'll see that same lag. And a lot of times that's a little bit of a issue because you overshoot and kind of zoom into the wrong area. So you can kind of see what 2020 looks like. And now let's take a look at 2021. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. You can see it's a lot more precise. As I pan, it's almost as quick as I can pan. So this is the exact same laptop, exact same graphics card, exact same driver, just a newer version of SOLIDWORKS. You'll also see some other really cool enhancements. Let's take a look at this last drawing. In 2020, I can't change or edit any of the notes. But in 2021, I have full access to the notes. I can do whatever I need to. I can remove, add stuff, whatever I want to do. In 2020, I was restricted on what type of views I could actually create. If I select on the view, use S for the shortcut key, you'll notice I really can't create any drawing views or anything like that. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of 2020 at this point. If I go into 2021, you'll notice that I have the options, if I do S for the shortcut key, to create a couple other views, detail views, break views. Since I have the broken view on the bottom, let's go ahead and create the break view on the top. So I've got multiple sections. You'll notice in the dialog box over here on the left, I have options for whatever type of break style that I want and full access to the gap size. So now that that fits, let's go ahead and add some more annotations. On the ordinate dimensions, I can just add to ordinate. I can now use center lines. Let's go ahead and create a detail view. So I'll use the same shortcut key. And I'll just place it out here. Once it creates the view, we now have options to our whole callouts, which we didn't have in previous versions. And any type of dimensions that you want for foreshortened dimensions, we can add those as well. It's looking pretty good. Next, on our dimensions, one thing we didn't have access to is the full tabs for dimensions. So you'll notice we have all of the different tabs, including on the leaders tab for the dimension. And we have the ability to change the first arc condition. So I can go to max, min, or in this case, I actually want the center line to be on the center. So I'm going to use the center option there. Another great enhancement is, of course, working with tolerances. So I'm going to go ahead and select on that. I like using what I call the magic box. And I'm going to change this to a symmetric tolerance. Let's go ahead and add in a 10 thousandths. And of course we can get to our precision on both the dimension and the tolerance. So full access to tolerances in there. So that's some great enhancements for detailing mode. Whether you're in detailing mode or not, we now have new balloons for anybody working with automotive. I'm going to go ahead and just set a balloon to text. And if you go to the more properties on the balloon type, you'll see a new option for VDA balloons. So any companies that are working with automotive manufacturers over in England or Europe, you may need to use this. And they're fully compatible with inspection. Last thing I want to show you is some sketch enhancements. Now when you're dealing with sketches, you can select, of course, multiple entities, and the shortcut bar is going to pop up where you usually expect it in sketch mode. So I'm going to go ahead and make these guys coincident. We can select on lines and points, make them midpoint, and kind of drag them around where I want. So kind of keeps you from having to go all the way over to the dialog and then all the way back. We can now do that right in place. So hopefully you saw some really great enhancements that you can do, especially in detailing mode, to help speed up your pace and get your job done faster in SOLIDWORKS 2021. Just want to thank you guys for giving us a little of your time and watching our videos on what we thought were the highlights on what's new in the core SOLIDWORKS 2021 products. For more specialized features, including PDM, simulation, routing, and many, many more, check out our 2021 landing page at goengineer.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the most up-to-date demos and videos. On behalf of Tim Strange out of the Dallas, Texas office, Charn J16 out of the Woodland Hills, LA, California office, and me, Steve Darcy, out of the Austin, Texas office, we'd like to thank you for being a SOLIDWORKS customer, and model on.